she showed me this picture. It's one of those fake pictures where Iron or Aquaman is sitting there holding his shirt like this, and then whatever image somebody wants is put on the shirt, and it looks like he's wearing that shirt. But it says something like, if your ancestors don't look like this, Native Americans, then don't talk to me about whatever.
No, then you're an immigrant.
Well, then you're an immigrant, whatever. And she said, I want that shirt, and I said, well, I don't. And she said, why? And I said, because I don't believe the narrative. She says, you don't think Native Americans were here occupying this place before white man? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. See, this is what makes this all so difficult. Is
why else would they give them money and allow them to have reservations? And they wouldn't treat them with any sort of special privileges if that weren't the case.
If they were trying to create a narrative, it would. If they were reassuring you that they could wipe somebody, they could take over a country if they wanted. They could wipe out an entire population of people if they want to. And all it takes is a small group of white people with the power of God behind them. And they can override an entire country. I mean, Native Americans shouldn't believe or be proud of that story. Basically, what our history tells you is that Native Americans were so stupid that no matter how many times white people fucked them over, totally fucked them over, killed them, did all this shit, Native Americans never got together in their superior numbers to overthrow these white devils. Just like how black people, superior numbers of black people, only one time in history did they ever revolt against their slave masters, and they were successful. They took over the one plantation, they took over the second plantation, and then either by the third or the fourth, I never remember which one it is, they came around the bend and the military was waiting for them. The military had been assembled, and they were all waiting on this one street that these slaves were marching down, singing and dancing, because, they know the words. And when the black people saw the slaves, they went, when the black people saw the government, they went, oh, Lordy, Lordy, okay, we quits. We going back to work, Massel. And that's the end of the story.
I mean, black people not uniting and standing up makes less sense to me than the Native Americans.
It makes less sense, for sure. But it still doesn't make any sense.
Tribes had wars with each other, so they weren't going to unify.
Yeah, they would. Of course they would.
Some of them did, but not many.
Of course they would. At the point where you go, okay, hey, man. I mean, it's like my feed, right? You would think it doesn't matter how much you hate me. When you realize that I want you, unless you're a J, to have a better life, that I want to kill the pedos, like what makes you still keep going? But when it comes to them, they're supposedly experiencing genocide. These white devils are supposedly moving just slowly across the country, just taking, promising, then reneging, promising, then reneging, and taking. They say that when white man first invaded, there were as many as 100 million natives in the Americas. But that, again, that requires you believing a narrative. That requires you not asking yourself, okay, so 100 million natives. Then the white people came in and started having a bunch of babies, and they spread like a cancer, while bringing in black people who they then forced into breeding programs to spread like cancer. And that would mean just billions and billions of people had been here prior to us being here. So where the fuck are they? In places like Paris, when you go under the ground and you go into the Paris catacombs, you see walls and lined with skeletons, all the bones of the people that were there beforehand, that the cleanup of the reset, whatever. But when you're talking about here in the States, how many people have been outside playing, digging in someplace or whatever, and found a human tooth? You ever had that happen? No. I know you never have. Never found human teeth digging in the ground. If there are billions of people that have been here, there would be trillions of teeth. You know, each adult has 32. Each adult has 32 adult teeth, and they lose their 22 or whatever kid teeth. Teeth are the things you got to pull out of the fucking shit because, you know, blah blah blah. They last forever. Never found a tooth. You don't find human remains anywhere. Every once in a while, the system will say they found a perfectly preserved. They were looking in a place, and where they happen to be looking, they happen to also find what they were looking for. But I mean, if we're talking about the Native American thing, I really wish you were not out of the conversation suddenly. If we're talking about the whole Native American thing, then where does the tunnels under Chicago fit in?
No idea. I don't know time frames. I have no idea.
Okay, but that's the point. Is all those buildings that you at first were like, yeah, whatever, but now you're starting to be like, how did they do that? Well, if that whole narrative of how all those great giant cities were made, how they tamed all those rivers and canals and shit with concrete, if all of that is erased, or at least not given to us, then why do you believe the part that's given to us? I mean, when you think about one thing I've always thought was strange was if the Native Americans hated the white man so much, didn't trust us, trust y'all, and believed that, you know, pictures stole their soul. Why did so many of them pose for pictures all the time? And their goofy ass headdresses and shit that, like, when you think about it, it's so impractical and so stupid that you would have this giant fucking feathery headdress and you know, I get ceremonial shit, right. But in any sort of practical sense, none of it works. It just doesn't make any sense. And so when you start to sort of, like, for me, I totally, I think I am, no, I don't think, I am 100% in the camp that at some point in the mid to late 1700s, maybe earlier, I don't know, some sort of reset happened. And those that are in charge now were the survivors of the reset who founded all of the technology and the buildings and the cities and all that shit that was long there. Was made by a much more advanced version of us that we all know. Again, that's the thing. Like, as much as you guys want to believe in Jesus and Muhammad and all these other goofy sky daddies with zero evidence, you are literally surrounded by evidence that a more advanced version of us lived here before we did. I mean, it's probably kind of irritating to be my family anymore, because every time we go somewhere, I'm always looking at these old churches, at these old buildings, and pointing it out to them. Like, how do you think they built that? That thing's probably from, you know, 1840, you know, whatever. Who was building this shit? When you look at the earliest church in Detroit, it's from like 17, can't remember what it's from, early 1700s, where they built this huge church and then they built the sister church across the river in Canada. There's a sister church and they're huge. And we're told this is when, like, you know, only X amount of people live there. Why were they needing so many super mega churches back then? Maybe because they're not really churches. The idea of hiding the truth behind this goofy ass narrative. It's all just fucking, It's all crazy. Yep, I'm not making sense. I'm sure I'm not. What's your sources, buddy? And don't tell me it's the voices. It's the voices in my head. Yep, that's what it is. I'm going to take you seriously. You know, the whole idea of this dumbass Native American population and this dumbass black population that just basically allowed white people to be this superior race and you know, take everything over. It's just stupid. It's insulting. And whatever the Native Americans were, the goofy fucking, you know, the version that we've been given is just, it's embarrassing. It's silly. Silly. It's like you compare, you know, black people to Africans. We're not talking about the same thing here. You know, when you look at what black people like, see, again, it comes down to your knowledge on the subject. How much do you know? Do you know about Hollywoodism? Do you understand that it's not a conspiracy theory that the Jays 100% controlled Hollywood and used that to create the America they wanted to create? There's no conspiracy theory there. It's the truth. And it's not the truth that you're told. So for you to believe what you're told, I don't understand why you would. You know, the more while you are still talking, says super smart Lisa Martinez. Am I still talking what? Am I still talking mouth? God, it's so stupid. I cannot imagine going to talk shit to someone and I don't spell words right. What? Telling somebody else how dumb and crazy they are and you don't spell words right. I mean, it's just stupid. It's the stupidity that I'm talking about. You're more willing to believe in Sky Daddy, but you don't want to know where Sky Daddy comes from. You know, you don't want to know the truth behind why you believe in Sky Daddy. You just want to believe it and think that you should be allowed to believe it. I shouldn't say anything. And, you know, you should have all the religious freedoms that you can have. Never mind anyone else. I mean, at the end of the day, why do you believe in the Native Americans? The narrative that you're given. Why do you believe it?
I don't necessarily believe it transpired the way that it's said.
So then what?
There's basic truth to most.
So then what point do you cut it off and like why? I know this sounds nitpicky or whatever, but it's the truth. It's like your mind, your body, your everything is telling you it's bullshit and you see it's bullshit. But it's this weird insecure arrogance where instead of you calling it bullshit, you go, well, you know, some of it's true. And then it's like, okay, so you decide which parts are true and which parts aren't. How do you know?
Whatever resonates with you, I guess. How do you believe anything?
Exactly. That is the point being made. How do we believe anything, you know, that's given to us?
But that doesn't mean it didn't exist. Just
sure.
Because you don't, you know, have
sure.
the details.
Sure,
So
but when you look in,
Americans were here.
When you look into the details don't fit. They don't work. It timelines, you know, they cross over each other and shit that's supposed to have happened again. So are we to believe that the big people of whatever would work all day in their giant fucking granite and marble and super ornate, you know, everything down to the door handles, the drinking fountains back in the day were these huge cathedral drinking fountain things. That these people would work all day in these things by lamplight, apparently. And then they would ride home on their horses that were parked all day in the horse parking lot. And then they would get home to their little shacks where they would sleep on the ground or in the hay or what. And then they'd get up the next day and get back on their horse and then come all the way back to the city where these fucking skyscrapers existed. Are we serious? It doesn't, you know.
That doesn't sound totally far-fetched. People live in shitty areas and go to beautiful areas to work all the time.
Yeah, but your shitty home,
car, that would be, you know.
your shitty home matches the world we live in. It's not like you're living without heat, without electricity, without entertainment. You're just living, and you're one of these people, and you go to work in the city. You commute to the city where you are then a professor or an accountant or whatever it is. I mean, you know, we were talking about it the other day with can't remember what it was, but just thinking about how it all worked. I mean, delivering mail, apparently the pneumatic tube systems. You know the pneumatic tube systems existed. You know it. You know it from what they want us to know.
That's another story that may or may not be true.
You make this so difficult.
I'm just saying.
Every time
I don't know it.
I know, and I was about to say, but you don't interrupt me. You know, according to the same narrative that exists, the same people that tell you all the other shit is true, they also tell you the pneumatic tube system existed, but you have to look for it. The flying train, I showed you the video from 1901 of the flying train system. It according to the people that tell us that things existed, and video evidence or whatever, these things were real. So why don't we have pneumatic tube systems anymore? The whole Airbus, the Hindenburg, the idea that the Hindenburg killed that mode of transportation, this quiet, convenient, better almost form of mode of transportation, was just completely killed, and all the infrastructure that was there to be put in place. I mean, it comes down to what you want to do and what you don't want to do. You can play that. I hate to say, but play the dumb role. Well, no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. Again, it's there. It's there. So as much as you know this or you know that, you know this. If you look for it. If you look, there's shit like the World's Fairs that existed. And the World's Fairs, I guess you're just one of those people that believes that they built these entire, basically, cities in a year or two, temporary cities that were far more majestic than anything we can do. Like, if you look at the videos and the pictures of it, and they used all the same ancient Greek, architecture that's all over the place. They built all these temporary cities to show off technology, then knocked them all down. I mean, you know in your head that there's no fucking way they were building 10-story tall buildings before they had power tools with dirt roads and horse-drawn carriages and shit, Yet they had all this marble and granite just brought in. How? Some of those slabs of granite are, thousands of tons. What was moving that shit in the 1800s? I mean, there's just so many things where it's like, obviously there was something more going on back then than we're told. And the fact that they're hiding it from us with stories like the Native Americans and slavery and the Pilgrims and all this bullshit. I mean, the Pilgrim story. You either believe it or you don't. There's no in between. You be the arrogant person that says, "Oh no, I'm going to believe this detail and that detail, but not this one." They give you the story. You're supposed to believe the story. And the story is they crashed in Cape Cod in mid-November and didn't come off the ship until December 21st, where they finally went to land and happened to find a fucking clear-cut area so they could build their homes. And that's after having been blown off course. So the month-long journey lasted 2 months. And they took them a month to get off the boat, huh? You don't believe it. At the end of the day, the only reason why, the church, Christianity, Catholicism is so big is because the government did that. They were like, okay, churches are tax-free. They're going to be built everywhere. They're going to be this. They're going to be that. The system that exists tells you that the God narrative. You don't just get to be like, okay, well, they're lying about this, but they're going to be telling the truth about that. Or do you believe that they were pulling, railroad cars with half boats on them over mountains with donkeys? It's fucking crazy. I'm showing early signs of marijuana-induced schizophrenia.
Show me the fucking scientific medical reports that prove marijuana causes schizophrenia.
If schizophrenia is you looking at the narrative that you're given and asking questions, like, who is going to tell you that? It's the same fucking thing. As goofy as it is in the big picture, it's the same thing that's behind this. Are you really going to believe that there are real people out there that just can't wait to prove how stupid they are and just keep, no, I'm stupid. No, I'm stupid. You really think that's more likely than Team Jorge? I've read you Team Jorge. There is the proof is there, you guys. It's just like the whole notion of Christianity and J bullshit. You can not like it all you want. Christianity comes out of Second Temple Jayism. That's undeniable. Understand, Christians, you guys believe, like this again, it's not even like it's a knock. It's the fact. And it's a knock because of the fact being so stupid. But you guys believe that the people that killed your Christian God's only child, who also happens to be your superhero, the people that killed that superhero Christian God's only child, that those people are his favorite chosen people. How is that a thing that you are like, that makes sense? If you don't understand how ridiculous that is, I just can't, I don't know. I don't know how to simplify it anymore. No. If that was the case, and if I was a Christian and somebody said that to me, and I'd be like, wait, you know what? You're right. Like that's pretty fucking weird. Hey, why is their book in the front of all of our Bibles? Why do we have to read their book before we get to our book? What does that tell you? I mean, it's not like some books have the Muslim story and some books have what, no. No. In the front of all your Bibles is the J book. And it's all just super stupid. It's super stupid. And at the end of the day, I even get mad at myself for talking about these things. Because the reality is, we're sitting here, arguing over sky daddies, arguing over a past that we can't know the truth to. If you really want to know the truth to the Native American genocide story, then we, Goyim, have to unite and overthrow the Jays that control the narrative and tell us the narrative we're given. Because to me, the narrative we're given is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's white supremacy. It's the true definition of white supremacy. Doesn't matter what your background is or anything like that. You need to go to school and you need to be able to regurgitate back that with God, a small band of white people managed to take over a place where people already lived, discover a place where people already lived, and then magically become the world superpower within a few hundred years. You believe that? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Yep, I just did a rail. Uh-huh.
You blew your nose in a napkin.
It's the same people that call bowls bongs. It's people that don't actually do drugs, desperately trying to find something because they can't argue what I'm saying. You guys, we are so much better than this. And at the end of the day, like we are allowing a genocide to take place. We are allowing them to control us. We allow them to rape our children, to rape our women, to rape our men. They rape and rape and rape and rape. Yeah, children is the worst because they have no frame of reference. But rape is awful across the board. And these people love to rape. Everything they do is rape. Whether it's the actual act of raping or, look at what they're doing. Look at the establishment of Israel. People were already there, living and happy in a good life. And because of some bullshit that supposedly happened a few thousand miles away in Germany, the people in Palestine have to give up their lives so Israel can be created? Do you know it was almost Uganda? They almost went with Uganda, but they decided to go this way instead? No, you don't know this shit. You don't. And the funny thing is, like, again, when desperate people will say shit like, oh, so when you read it on Wikipedia, that makes it true, but everything else is a lie? No, I'm just saying, I read what they want us to read. I read what they want us to know. The fact that it doesn't happen to make sense or it doesn't line up, well, that's because it's not real. Pretty simple. But these Jays are horrible, horrible, disgusting people, man. And we need to address it. 2025 is the year of honesty. Look at the narrative they give us. Look at how terrible it is. It's so bad that they gave us Trump again. It's phenomenal. I still want to know where Trump was in like 2022, 2023, 2022-ish, 2021, 2022. I don't get it. I don't get what part you're hanging on to. I don't get what part you believe. You know, I ask my wife these things, and you know, it basically comes down to we're in different places mentally. You know, she still believes that bits and pieces are true. And yet it's crazy because she despises the system that gives it to us. It's so strange. But it's like, you know, the Native American genocide narrative, that wouldn't be that hard to come up with. You know, you give those people the shittiest plots of land and tell them, oh, well, yeah, this is your reparations for your blah, blah. I mean, it's just stupid. It's stupid. And it's how it is just across the across the whole system. You know, and it's all because you're not willing to ask the questions. Why is our government allowed to be full of dual Israeli citizens? How could voting on issues that have to do with Israel be any bit fair if the people voting have loyalty over, you know, to Israel over the United States? I mean, it's like, if you look at all the things that they say that we're not allowed to say and do, you know, we're not allowed to say it's a J state. They have a J state. They call it that all the time. But if we say it, that's wrong. If we say that those with the dual Israeli citizenship have more loyalty to Israel than the United States, oh, that's bad. You're not allowed to say that. I mean, think about how silly it is that every single time you hear about one of them being killed, it's a hate crime. It's national news. It's all this crazy shit. Why? Why are they so much more important than we are? Look what look, I told you, Trump taking over would affect my feed drastically. Trump said he's going to end government censorship, huh?
Yet, isn't he the one that made it, put in legislation about college campuses and
free speech? Yeah.
Talking against
Trump on the
Israel
on the Tuesday after Kobe died. So the Sunday Kobe died again. Died. Sunday Kobe died. Sunday and Monday, that's all anybody was talking about. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Wednesday, one of Trump's impeachments was scheduled to come to an end. So Wednesday's news was already covered. On Tuesday, while you're all talking about Kobe, Trump has Netanyahu, who is a fucking war criminal who is under indictment. He's not even he wasn't even the PM at the time. Netanyahu's standing behind him as Trump is signing this legislation. Netanyahu has his hand on his shoulder. And Trump is signing legislation that says all college and university campuses need to have a pro-Israel curriculum and need to be actively removing any anti-Israel or any BDS type movements or groups or anything under the threat of losing federal funding. And most colleges and universities won't survive without federal funding. And the only reason I know this is because at the time I watched the 700 Club, and the 700 Club was the only fucking news organization that covered it. None of the big organizations covered that. You would have thought that would have been a big deal. That's when Netanyahu, bitch ass piece of shit Netanyahu, said that Trump was the greatest friend that Israel and the Israeli people have ever known. I mean, at the end of the day, look at the comments. Who is actually gonna? Who actually supports Israel? Other than Jays, who thinks that it's a good thing that the United States keeps giving money to Israel, taxpayer dollars to Israel, whether it's for genocide or just so that the Jays can live the life they want to live? Who supports that? Does anybody? Does anybody think like, yeah?
I think that people from like the 50s kids, you know, my mom's generation and older, I think they still have the sentimental,
Sure.
oh, the poor Jews mentality. So I think
But do they think that we should give them $3.8 billion a year?
I don't think that they would believe that.
Right.
To begin with, I think that they would acknowledge we are giving Israel some money, but I don't think that they would believe that in the context.
But once you prove it to them, do you think that they would still think that's a good thing? That's the best use of that money. We should not be using that money here. We should be using that money.
Also, the generation that was, you know, led to believe that they should blindly trust the government and the reasons that they do things, that they're always in the country and citizens' best interest.
Yeah, but how long do you get to hide behind that?
I mean, they would respond, well, we don't know what's behind the scenes stuff. We don't know what Israel, we get back from Israel. Well, you don't know all
Why don't you know that? Why don't you think you know that?
That's not what we get paid to learn. That's what we pay them to do.
Yeah, but as far as them stealing your taxpayer dollars and giving it to a foreign country.
It's not stealing. We will.
Yeah, they are. We don't vote for it. We don't have any sort of say in any of it.
We willfully give the government our tax money.
Okay, we give them
what they deem is in our best interest.
I get it, but if I could finish the point, maybe it might answer that point. You know, they steal that money and they allocate it how they see fit. Now, most of these people, like your mom's generation and whatnot, they bitch and complain all the time about the government. If anyone knows that the government is corrupt, it's the older generations. And those are the same generations that did have the Jays are the bad guys. Their parents and grandparents absolutely thought the Jays were the bad guys.
No, the Germans were the bad guys.
No. No, the Jays were the bad guys, especially in the religious communities for a long time. Older people, the Jays being the bad guys is a very common thread. They just don't think you're supposed to talk about it, but they don't deny it. Your mom is a different story. That, you know, she likes the queen and shit like that. Yeah, there are those versions of people. But I don't think if the facts are laid out to people, and you more importantly, you get them to understand that, you know, they don't know, and they should. There should be some sort of accountability and whatnot. And you know, you have to break through the arrogance. You have to break through a lot of that, but that's the point of all this, is to break through that shit. No, you don't just know everything because you're older. It's just not true. And the reality is, you probably are dumber than the average person my age. just because what you know and you know well and you can regurgitate really well is a very, very carefully crafted version without any
Life experience.
no, it's a very carefully crafted variation of history that didn't have any deviations. You didn't have the internet to be able to go look things up. You know, the thing about what I do is I don't look up conspiracy theories. I only look up what they want us to know. The best thing is when it's a Wikipedia page that's all locked up. So nobody can edit it or anything, and that means it's the way that the system wants it to be. But like I've said for a long time, the most dangerous thing about what I do is not the J stuff. It's the dysfunctional stuff. Because it doesn't matter. The whole LeBron James theory. It doesn't matter if we're given the opportunity. If we're not prepared for the opportunity, we're going to fail. If I got to play LeBron James tomorrow in basketball, I'm going to get crushed. However, if I know I'm going to play LeBron James in basketball in 6 months, I'm going to do a lot better than I would if I had to do it tomorrow. And when you start incorporating the we aspect of things, you understand that like look at our generation. Look at all these people that think that as she said, as her mom thinks, that the government has our best interests. And
I'm not saying mom thinks that. I'm saying people of her generation and older.
yeah, but she thinks that way too.
A little bit.
I think when push comes to shove, she does. I think
want to do the job. We pay somebody else to do the job because we don't want to do it.
I think she has, a good front, but when push comes to shove and hey, you have cancer, it's like, okay, well, I beat cancer before using oils, but I'm not going to use oils this time. I'm going to do what the doctors say.
And then halfway through, stop it.
I know, but
God
damn, this is so different. I'm saying the mentality to she knows the right way, but she has that other block in the way. This is a generation that we definitely have to deal with. We can't just push it aside. I don't want to wait for them to die.
We have to.
No, we don't. It will, because they're no different. They're not special. They're just a few years older than us. That's all. That's all it is. They're set in their ways until it changes. And a lot of that comes down to accountability. It really does, when you start pointing out that, you're responsible for this. You can't just be like, oh, well, that happens in other churches, not mine. That's not an excuse. You don't just get to say that's okay. And that's the thing, is I think most of us are so programmed to accept people's bullshit, and because we have this PC narrative that's been given to us, and like that chick said on the feed, let other people have their opinions. So I'm not supposed to give mine? Like, my opinion is one that you don't like, so I'm not supposed to say that. But other people are supposed to be allowed to give their opinions. Gotcha. I think the total opposite. And I think everybody should be able to give their opinions and speak freely. And hopefully, if you have that freedom to speak freely, that'll give you a better sense of understanding. Because when you try to speak your point of view and you can't, and somebody else can, and they fill in all the holes and they debunk what you're saying, well, that leads to change. It's people again, but it comes down to what people want. We have to crack through the shells of what people want. And it's all about the dysfunction. The dysfunction is what keeps us where we are. The dysfunction in the society. Like my wife has a lot of it. You know, I feel really bad for her because she happened to be born at this time. Like she's this generation that's a few years where, as far as women go, one foot is in the 50s sort of subservient side, and one foot is in the 80s. I'm gonna wear shoulder pads kind of shit, you know. And there's a lot of this. I mean, again, to me, it really does come down to want, because if all these things, these bullshit ideas, and these, oh well, this is how things are, this is how men are, this is how this. At some point, you got to realize, like, it's bullshit. You're just talking bullshit. And at some point, you either say, I've been letting bullshit fuck with me because it's not like it's led to good shit. Or you're gonna say, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna just keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing the bullshit. I'm not like, it's one of those two things. You can't keep saying, like, oh well, my mommy was mean, or oh well, my mom was a drunk, or oh, you can't do that. Yes, that shit is very real. Yes, it has an effect on things, but you have to be willing to look at all of the effects it has, not just the parts where you want it to. But that's, most of us do that. Most of us do the thing where we go with how we want to see it, that gives us the least amount of accountability, the least amount of responsibility. And that goes from our home lives to the big picture. Well, those Jays and those Palestinians, they've been fighting forever. That's a thing that can't be won, and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, that's what you tell yourself, and now you feel good about not doing anything, right? Like my wife will do things just like her mother does them. And I'll point it out. And instead of being like, oh shit, am I doing that? Her answer is, I don't do that. And it's like, well, what would be my reason for saying it? It's not like I just snatched this out of thin air. I know it's not going to get a positive response. So I'm saying it reluctantly. But it's an example of, like, you don't like when she does it, but you're doing it. So maybe you don't realize that you're doing it, but maybe if you connect the two and you can see how the situations are similar and the mentality is similar, the thing is, all you got to do is, like, stop doing it. That's it. You don't have to, like, get out your checkbook and write oh man, I fucked up. Here's $1,000. It's just like, no, just stop doing it. That's literally all it comes down to. We got to just stop doing things. We got to stop being so misguided. When I look at it's interesting because I look at how I was raised. Look, I'm going to talk about me, just like how you guys always want. And I was raised in one of those, close the drapes because you don't want the neighbors to think. What are the neighbors going to think? And to this day, I'm still like, well, I don't give a shit what they think. I know they got their own shit going on that they don't want me knowing, so the fuck do I care? Why do I care about my neighbor's judgment? They're not people I feel are above me. If they really are gonna judge me, it's because they want to. Lots of us know bad shit about people and we just overlook it. Whatever. That's just that person. But to think that, like, if you do hold something, it's because you want to. Oh, I saw they did this. Yeah, but you've known they did shit like that a lot. Yeah, but I saw them do. Like, it's just interesting.
lot of what you want and would expect people to change is human behavior.
See, you're doing it right there.
That's a big ask.
I'm a
It's really
human.
hard to
Well,
do.
I'm not some alien. Human behavior or stereotypical kind of spoiled brat American behavior. It's like how there's not an obesity crisis all over the world. It's not some disease that people, I just can't help it. It's like taking drugs and I comfort eat. Well, must be nice. Must be nice. But again, instead of your first thought being like, you know what, you're right. We can make our lives better if we just work together to fix the problems. We can make things better. Your first thought is no, can't do it. It's human nature. No, it's human behavior.
No, can't do it. I didn't say that at all. I said
Yes,
it's
it
a
is.
big ask.
Okay, but that's
and you make it seem a lot simpler than it is.
because it is. It's a lot simpler than the one of the biggest things about the system is convincing you that the solutions are really difficult, and usually the solutions are actually the problems, like the one world government. Oh, that's a bad thing. No, that's a good thing. That means everybody has the same rights and everybody's allowed the same life and freedoms and stuff. That'd be a good thing. But they have you convinced that it's a bad thing. They have you convinced that the conspiracy is some big technical, supernatural, blah blah, all this other shit. It's a big ask to think that people would just, get over shit and move forward. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what scares them more than anything is my insistence on talking about this. I'm not skipping step 2. Step 1 is the acknowledgement. Step 3 is that we take over the J's. But step 2 is how do we get there? And we get there by us unifying and us conversing. Conversation is the key. If I ask you to explain what you have to explain, like explain your thing, and you're like, no, you're just going to pick it apart. Well, yeah, I'm not just going to believe it. But if you're right, then you should look forward to being able to express how you're right over and over again. If I pick something apart, but you're right, you should have a response for it. And when you don't, that's totally cool. It's like it's okay that those things that you like aren't necessarily real or whatever. Maybe at that point you go, okay, this will be a cool thing I can do to sort of, spend some, but this obviously isn't the answer. And that's all. It's not like everybody takes everything so personally. But it's like, are you the best you can be? Are you trying to be the best you can be? To me, the best you can be is if you were to be able to go live and speak freely and, not worry about people disagreeing. If they do, you can, you take their disagreements as they come, and if you're willing to be wrong, like the thing is, people always say to me, oh, well, you don't do that. Yeah, I do. That's how I got here. I didn't start out this way. I used to be a lot more hot-headed. I used to, I used to believe a lot of things differently than I do now. But I was wrong. One of the like key things to me is the shape of the earth. Or how about even this new thing? For me to say, I think that the religious narrative makes more sense than the scientific narrative. It's something I can't even believe I'm hearing myself say. Now, do I think the religious narrative makes any sense? No. It's stupid. It's dumb. But the Big Bang Theory shit is even dumber to me. Now that I've looked, I mean, I'm not like a lot of you where I just sort of hear something and I I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't believe it, but I'm not looking into it at all. Well, then why don't you believe it? For me, when I want to know something, I look into it. And I don't get the credit that I deserve because, I go live and I look up things blindly. It's not like I've looked the thing up before. So if I'm looking this thing up and and as I'm reading it, it's making me look stupid because it's just explaining things. Bam, bam, bam. This makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense. I'm fucked. I'm going to lose credibility. I'm going to look like a jackass in here like, oh, well, I guess that was a lot more easy to explain than I thought. The problem is that never fucking happens. It's surprising. The submarines thing was shocking. That was one of those things where it just sort of, I thought about it and it didn't really make any sense to me. Like I thought like, it seems like that's difficult. That's more difficult than they make it seem like. And I wonder what the history is. How did we get to the position we're in? And I started looking into it. And it was shocking to me how stupid it was. I assumed the narrative would have been better and put together in a more complete package and not so like I shouldn't be able to pick your thing apart just giving it a winging it. Oh, I'm gonna look at this for the first time and I shouldn't be able to pick it apart. It's the official narrative. It's history. It's the thing that's supposed to be 100% true and make all the sense. And yet, you're okay with them building tunnels under the River Thames in 1840 or whatever the fuck it was. You're cool. Okay. Yeah. They built it, and to build it, they designed the thing needed to build it, and it was the Dobb people, and then at some point, the son decided to call himself Dobbs. Why not just add an S to your name, right? That makes sense. We're going to be the Williamses from now on. We're just going to add an S. I mean, it's just fascinating. So when the billionaires died in the submarines, right? They did because you saw it on TV. TV said so. The thing about all that shit is it doesn't matter. Like it's until you want to see it, you won't. If I say to you, how the fuck does anybody do a funeral for someone that's a big time community leader and they were found dead at 6:30 in the morning in an unsolved murder and they didn't know what the fuck was going, and yet there was a funeral for that person seemingly within a few hours.
I thought it was the next day.
No, it was within a few hours. The next day, the paper read that the funeral held yesterday was beautiful and over 1,000 people attended. She was found dead at 6:30 a.m. How
long does the embalming process take?
The autopsy, the investigation. I mean,
they wouldn't have done an autopsy if there was a wound or however.
No, they still do. She was stabbed a bunch of times, but they're going to count the knife wounds. They're going to look and they always want to know which one.
A medical examiner.
They want to know which.
A full-fledged autopsy.
Okay, but that's what they're going to do. This is a high-ranking J with an unsolved murder. We don't know what happened. They're looking for evidence. They're looking for clues. They're looking for DNA and skin cells that don't belong. But like, it doesn't matter what's presented to you. If you don't want to see it, you're going to believe the narrative they give you. It's just that simple. I don't know how to, like again, it's not like I'm It's not like I'm Alex Jonesing it, right? I'm telling you, I just watched Alex Jones yesterday, and now I'm talking about it like it's my information. No. You know, I literally read it to you guys as I'm reading it, and we just sort of try to figure it out. But you're either going to believe that in the 1800s, they were pulling railroad cars with half boats on them over mountains with donkeys, or you're not. Like I don't know where else to go from there. When they're telling you that they communicate with submarines using a facility based in Wisconsin, what are we talking about? Like, you never even bothered to think about how they communicate with submarines. Because you don't think about how that shit works. You have a cell phone in your hand. You want to call your friend. You call your friend and the friend talks to you. You could see your friend if you want to. You're watching some crazy guy in Detroit right now, wherever you may be. You don't think about all that shit, how it all just works. But it it's like 9/11, right? When they put out the official, like, this is what happened on 9/11, it was like 10 years later. And they showed the official NIST animation of what happened. And they were talking about the pancake theory. And that's where the floors, boom, 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 pancake down on top of each other. You know, what we clearly didn't see. On the narrative, in the screen that they're showing you, the computer screen, the pancake theory is happening, and around in the center, the center column is still there, because the pancake theory could only really take place if the center column stayed there like that. And so you see it in the animation that they give you, an image, a set of images of whatever, that don't match what you saw with your own fucking eyes. But because you don't want to be ridiculed, and because I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't believe what you saw over what they tell you. Again, okay, so if Trump is shot from the right front, and just before he got shot, he turned his head and looked down like this, how did his right ear get hit? The shot's coming from this way. It would have to go through his head.
I thought it hit his ear just before he turned his head.
No, he had his head turned.
The top of his ear and didn't go into his head at all.
He had his head turned. He was already looking down, talking to that person. I mean, they didn't know if there was a second shooter, and yet they let this man get up, and he was framed with a small little female secret. Why was there female Secret Servicemen there? And the one that got right in front of Trump, so we could still see his face while the two big guys were next to her, just perfectly framed him, was one of the females. And they let this man get up and walk, even though they didn't know if there was another shooter. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. They could have taken him down through the back. Nope, they took him right across the stage, and he's yelling, "Fight, fight," and his blood's all drying already and shit. And then my favorite part is after they get him in the car, you have that little Secret Service woman with the curly hair and her gun, and she tries to put it in her holster, but she can't. And then the feed cuts. Oh, that shit's... She's a professional Secret Service woman, huh? She, as a female, to be a Secret Serviceman, that would mean she would have to be better than men. And this woman can't even get the gun in the holster? Really?
Yeah, I wonder if she's still employed.
She's an actress. She's a crisis actress. She's a whatever. Come on. She's not a fucking. She's not. What Secret Service person that the best of the best of the top flight security is going to be a short, fat female?
Maybe at the time she got the job, she was a lot more fit.
So what? Then why was she used in this situation? See, like, it's crazy.
Maybe nobody wanted to guard Trump.
My wife, doesn't matter. You don't get to pick that. My wife does this all the time, and I do appreciate it. She like, it's almost like a free thought. She just says like and that won't work because of it. And it's like, well, they didn't want to guard Trump. No, you're not what Secret Serviceman gets to pick their fucking duty like that? They don't get to.
When I'm doing that, those are not.
No, I know. That's what I said. I appreciate it. It's like a free thought. It just comes out, and it represents what a lot of people would probably say, and I appreciate it.
But not how I feel. Just so you.
No, I know.
Okay.
You're not stupid. I say that all the time. I do think you are misguided and brainwashed in certain ways, but we all are. You know, it's just what it is. I mean, that's what the point of this is. I'm sure I am too in a lot of ways. That's why I'm like, you can't just say I attack other things. You know, me going after the earth shape and believing that the earth is not round and that all those space documentaries I made you watch and all that's me going after my own thing. You know, that's my thing, the thing that I believe, the argument that I made for a long time that, oh, you believe the Bible, they wrote that when they thought the earth was flat, blah, blah, blah. Like, I had to eat a lot of crow, at least for myself. I don't think these ways just because. Or because I saw a video on Facebook and now at my home. It's not how it works. There's not a single thing that I think or believe whatever that I haven't extensively looked into what I'm supposed to believe. And whether I still believe it afterward or not, well, that's all. But I look at everything. I'm constantly trying to disprove myself. I can't, you know, I don't dictate what Google shows me when I put Israel into the Google machine and then click news. I can't help it that every fucking article makes Israel look like a piece of shit. I have no control over that. If you read all those names, it's always J's. And usually those articles are written in a way where it's like they think they're making themselves look good. But when you say shit like, well, if the UN opens the books on Israel, that demonizes Israel. Well, how can you demonize something that's doing the right thing? If they weren't doing a bunch of horrible shit, they couldn't be demonized. And that goes for any of you, right? That's what like the true freedom is. If you believe in Jesus, you believe in God, blah, blah, blah. One, it shouldn't bother you that I don't. Like, you should be okay. But the fact that I'm willing, I'm like, all right, if you make good arguments, then I'll believe what you have to say. Just understand that I'm going to say things back. And the fact that I literally never have any religious people that can have any sort of reasonable conversation. As soon as they start looking wrong, they start acting out. They start acting like goofy children. They never say, oh, well, you know what? That is fucked up. I guess I didn't think about it that way, or, you know. And I know I don't either, but what you're asking of me requires faith. You're not going to present me with evidence of anything. There are thousands of videos with submarines. No, there's not. See, when you know people are dumb enough that they'll just say anything, it showed like they lose all credibility. If you go look up submarines underwater on YouTube, you're going to come across two videos. One video is supposedly some scuba divers that a submarine goes beneath them, looks really fake and weird. But the other one is even more fake because it looks like a goofy tank. And the camera stays in one place at the bottom, and the submarine goes by this way, and then it comes back this way, and it goes this way, and it's just below the surface of the water. You can literally see the reflection of the sub on the surface of the water. And that's that.
Yeah, that's a pretty shitty attempt.
Right. I mean, it's like I should be able to go online and look up submarines underwater and see a bunch of fucking videos. I could see a bunch of videos of boats going across the water where the top of it's sticking out. Most of the boat might be underwater, but the top is still sticking out. There's lots of those videos. There's lots of videos of supposedly inside of a submarine, which you would think are like, isn't that sort of top secret kind of shit? Why would they be making videos inside a submarine? That seems fucking dangerous. Like, that seems like you're giving away way more than... And what would be the purpose of it? What? For what? Other than to push a narrative, why would you make videos of inside a submarine?
It makes no sense.
And then those videos never show anybody affected by any movement whatsoever. All of the videos inside the submarine, the people are just standing there. They'll be drawing on stuff. They'll be walking around like it's no big deal. Talking on the telephone. Hello. Drawing, little circles. My favorite video, though, is the one where they're supposedly 100 feet below the surface, ascending at 10 feet per second. And as they come up, they show this little Atari graphic version of it on the side, and then on the other side of the screen it shows the crew all in I forgot what it's called, the conning tower. The part that sticks up is the conning tower, and just below the top part is where the crew all sits. And in this video there's like 10 crew members all standing there for some reason. A bunch of them just standing there, and then I guess like 5 of them are driving or some shit. I don't even know what's going on, but for some reason they're all standing there shoulder to shoulder as this thing is ascending 10 feet per second. So they're not like, whoa. And it then crashes through the ice, which they then show a video from the outside, which apparently they must have dropped somebody off a ways away, and then he hiked over with a camera. And then they were like, all right, now we're going to do... So, even though the one from the camera, when it starts, the submarine's already sticking out of the ice.
You asked too many questions. You just need to...
But the video of them crashing through the ice is the best one. Because, again, this is where my wife... I'm almost like, ha-ha, to my wife, Because she believes that they're real. And I have to, I can't just say that everything is crazy. I can't just do that. I can't just blah, blah, blah. She says a lot of the stuff you guys say. Because it is crazy to think that submarines aren't real. I get you. In our society, if you say submarines aren't real, you are going to be considered crazy. I think it's crazy that they can ascend at 10 feet per second, crash through the ice, and not a single person moves. Not a single person's affected by anything. Not a single person rocks. Not a single person... Oh, Jesus, that was a big impact. Nothing. How's that fit the narrative, Ange? You can answer that. What is the only answer that makes sense?
It doesn't.
No, there's only one answer that makes sense. That video is
bullshit.
That's it. And I know we tell ourselves, well, nothing makes sense. It does make sense. It totally makes sense. They made a fake video to convince us of a narrative that they want us to know, so we think that we are always, they have it all covered. Land, sea, under the sea, air, space, space force. You know? When you're in prison, you don't think you can get out by swimming through the moat. You think there are mines in the moat. You think there are crocodiles in the moat. You know? There might not be, but you think there are. As long as you think Israel has nuclear capabilities and that at any point they'll exercise the Samson option and kill us all, does it really matter if they have those nukes or not? No, it doesn't. If you already believe the narrative, it doesn't matter. If you believe you live on a round earth, perpetually going through space, well, it doesn't matter what they present you. If you believe that invisible germs attack your immune system and blah, 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 then it doesn't matter. Then you'll believe that you can strengthen that immune system. You'll believe whatever they want you to believe. If they control how you think, then what you think doesn't matter. They can manipulate that left and right. If you believe that your vote counts, you'll fucking go out there and vote. You'll fall for the politics. You'll get mad at this person. You'll do that. You'll pick which hand they slap you with, left or right. If you believe that you don't have to be slapped, well, that's a whole different story now, isn't it? But, like, that's the thing. You have to be able to... So why would they fake videos then? What's the next logical progression of the argument? Why would you fake a video?
To get people to believe what you want them to believe.
Right. And because you can't make a real one, right? Because if you could make a real one, you would.
Right.
So then, like you say, why if they could make a real one and they make a fake one, so why would they make the fake video? To then manipulate how people think. That simple. And why would you manipulate people into thinking you can do something that you can't? Because, you can't do it, and it's control. And that's how we have to look at all of it. The submarine thing, I should have fallen flat on my fucking face. And I know somewhere inside of her she wanted me to. Cause I'm a fucking pompous asshole. And I think I'm right all the time. And I say all kinds of crazy shit. And you know what? This thing is obviously real, you dumbass. You're gonna eat this one, watch. Nope. Nope. And I've learned that. Like, a lot of times you might have an idea or think something and then not take it because it's preposterous to think that way. Obviously, it's this way, so don't think this way. But you never know. As I always say, like, if you believe in Jesus and God and shit, why aren't you, like, jumping to talk about it? It's funny because you always see that shit, right? You always see these people that are like, at the store, have a blessed day. Always trying to push their shit on you. They're always acting like, I want to have this conversation. Oh, God bless you. You sneezed. Oh, the gay people shouldn't have rights because of the Bible. But then you go, okay, hey, you know what? If you believe that, cool. Let's talk about it. Why do you believe that? Where does it say what you think it says? And you'd be amazed how many conversations literally end right there. Like they don't even have a follow-up. They have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Hopefully, I'm always hoping they bring up Sodom and Gomorrah. Because it's like that shit. You can't know what Sodom and Gomorrah says and claim that it's against gay people. There's literally nothing gay about Sodom and Gomorrah. The only gay part is the part God did, I guess. Because it doesn't even make any sense, right? All of a sudden, everybody in the town just stops what they're doing and wants to fuck these two. They first of all, they know the angels are there to begin with. And secondly, these are all non-gay people. Why would they suddenly want to fuck these two angels that show up that they suddenly know are there? Like it's amazing. It's amazing. If meth had a spokesperson, can you imagine if meth did this to people? I mean, if you'd have to smoke big meth blunts, I guess. But if meth made you question the narrative you're given and not believe in Jesus and all that crazy shit, man, this place would be a lot better, wouldn't it? I'd be pushing people to do meth, that's for sure. But they always say it like it's some sort of negative, right? Like damn, meth and meth. So if the negative is that I'm all methed out, why don't you guys have better information than I do? Why would that be your only argument? Are you big pedo supporters? Are you big genocide supporters? What part of the narrative is your favorite? I just find it all so fascinating, man. I can't imagine the loser mentality it takes to be a troll.
So this is in Redford, okay? Didn't know what it was. They had to call the police.
The dog was on the roof.
I can't understand why you would want to be a troll. It makes no sense to me. No sense.
I mean, seriously, like, as weird as what I do is...
Like, are you embarrassed telling people what you do for a living?
Well, like, as weird as what I do is...
That's weirder.
Right, like, at least I'm me, and I'm, I'm not hiding my identity, and I'm... Weird. Right, I'm openly weird, right, and I'm talking about my ideas and my thoughts, and, I'm open to discussion and all that. To think like I'm gonna make a fake profile so I can go look for truthers, because they don't exist anywhere else, and try to stop them from talking. That's so weird to me. Like, if I was gonna troll anybody, I would troll like churches. And I would constantly ask them, why are you guys, not actively going after the pedos? Whether you have them in your own parish or the parishes around you, why aren't you guys actively calling out the church? I'd be trolling little girl beauty pageants, asking them, why the fuck are you doing little girl beauty pageants? That shit is fucking weird. I'd be trolling Pee Wee football. Why are we encouraging this brain damage to our children at such a young age? It's just strange. Somebody says, I try to avoid interacting. So you try to avoid interacting with meth addicts. I'm a big meth head who asks a bunch of questions you're not smart enough to ask or answer. And you watch me all day, every day. Good job avoiding it. Good job. What's up? What's up, beef? I mean, I just can't imagine being that stupid. How do you watch someone every day, all day long, and be like, I hate you so much? Even me watching the 700 Club, I definitely hated it, but I appreciated it because I addressed what was shown to me. You know, it wasn't like it was looking in all these different directions and shit. It was really obvious. Why am I so late today? Because it's the weekend, baby.
No, it's not. It's
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday.
Because the kids have the day off.
Yeah, kids had too cold to go into school days. So it's the weekend, essentially, for us.
Oh, yep, that's what it is. I just don't like it. You don't answer questions. You just say things. Most of the time, when I address what you say, you jump to the next thing. But I stopped talking about you when I forgot what you said that you believe. But oh yeah, that you couldn't admit that you were wrong about fucking aircrafts. The commercial airliners fly at thousands of miles per hour. No, they fly between around 500 miles per hour. But, between like 480 or something like that. But around 500 on average. At their highest, point. No, and I literally read the shit to the guy. Read it. Passenger airlines fly at this speed. And he couldn't fucking acknowledge it. And I was so hoping that he could. If that dude would have simply said, you know what, you're right. I was wrong about that one. My bad. I'd have been like, that's cool. We all make mistakes. But once you started turning it into all the typical troll nonsense from there on, you lost all your credibility. You live in Romania. Yes, I do. I live in Romania. I just think this shit is so... It's so weird, man. It's all so weird. It doesn't matter what it is. What you're supposed to believe is weird and death, doom, and gloom kind of bullshit. You're supposed to believe that at any point a rock's going to fall out of the sky and wipe us out like it did the giant lizards that were here beforehand. And then the fish will come out of the water and make new things again. Like, it's all just stupid. It really is. Like I say, you have all this evidence all around you. She's been doing this for such a long time. She's belonged to like castle pages and in church, but castle, those old castles and shit. And she's been looking at these things for years. And the standard accepted answer as to how we built those things is, yeah, we don't know how they built them, but they did. And they built it on this day. They built it in a year. And it's like, obviously, they're lying. They're lying. So why wouldn't you think they would lie about everything else? Or why wouldn't you at least think that everything is a lie? Why not demand that you know it's true before you believe it or say that I accept this as truth? I'm going to talk about this as true from now on. It's like, it just comes, it's weird too, because like Ange was saying about like the other generations and shit. If you start talking to me about any of it, I'm going to get a big smile on my face. I'm going to welcome the conversation. All right, let's do this. It's always the response that like if somebody's going to start talking to me about religious shit, they're going to start talking to me like I believe it. Or if they know better, they'll start talking to me like they're trying to convince me of this, that, and the other. And I always figure like if you're going to engage me in the conversation, then you want me to respect you as a human being, right? You don't want me to go, oh, this person's probably really stupid. I should just pretend. And even then, I can't. Well, I guess I do. Because there'll be plenty of situations where somebody will be like, oh, God bless you. So, and I'll be like, okay, thank you. But if you want to bring that to my doorstep, I'm definitely going to engage you. Yep, I need help. This person wonders why I don't engage him. What am I drinking? All the alcohol? I drink all of it. All of it. You name it. And not only have I been drinking alcohol, I've been smoking the meth and shooting the smack, eating the heroin, eating the crack, kicking my dogs and cats, beating my wife and children. Yep, all the bad things. Ooh, I must be doing those things because I think Israel sucks. Because I think we deserve better than what we're given. How dare I? How dare I think that we should have a better situation than we have? How dare I call out racism and sexism and all those other isms? It's just crazy, man. It's crazy. And then again, these same people just come back day after day after day to tell me how crazy I am. Not why I'm crazy. What I'm getting wrong. Like the guy that claims he's super smart. Has he actually addressed anything? No. Gravity and air resistance. Yep. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. Because gravity's real. There's a magical force that's pulling everything down towards the center of the earth. And it's the smartest force of all time. Because it knows exactly how much pressure to hold a bunch of water, like a gazillion, fulfillion tons of water, gallons and bafillion, jajillion gallons of water on a ball that spins at 1,000 miles per hour. It's like, all right, we need to hold that water on there with X amount of pressure to the point where, in some cases, it doesn't even look like it's moving. It's like it's completely flat. But we also know to let the little seedlings fly. Grab your dandelion. Here, do this. It'll make it so much easier. Yeah. Let the dandelion seeds fly. Gravity knows to do that. Gravity's really smart like that. Gravity, the force that's pulling everything into center of the earth while also making the moon spin around the earth and making the earth spin around the sun. Totally. Super smart gravity. And all way, way more important than the J fucking control scheme. Super important. It's super important that everybody believes in gravity. Who cares about all those children being killed every day? Who cares about all the children being raped every day? Yeah, none of that matters. We got a leak? I don't know why. Your YOUR. Oh, Jesus Christ, so stupid. Yeah, I don't care about what you say. You guys, you lost all credibility. Sorry, dude. Sorry. You've shown your true colors. When you can't admit you're wrong, you don't belong. Ooh, I'm going to write that down. If you can't admit you're wrong, you don't belong. If you can't admit you're wrong, you don't belong. If you can't admit you're wrong, then you don't belong. Good stuff there. I think it's crazy. Like all these things, the Earth shape is such a fucking ridiculous distraction. And the problem being is you know when you start to see it, it's just like everything else. When you start to see it, the pieces just keep falling into place, and you start realizing like just how goofy it actually is. Do you know how goofy that shit is? That there's this completely different environment than we have the ability to experience. You know, it's weightlessness. It's airless, weightlessness, gravityless space. And you just float around in the space, and you're like, whoa, and the planets. But the planets, they're in orbits, and these orbits are like a watch, man. They never fucking deviate. They never change. Like we're traveling at 62,000 miles per hour. If that were to change even a little bit, we would know. But you know, the whole 62,000 miles per hour thing, and I don't know if you've heard this part of this yet, but the whole James Webb Space Telescope, right? Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be in the Lagrange point, which is that magical gravity point that was theorized in the 1770s by a guy last name Lagrange, who theorized that there were these 5 Lagrange points around every planet. 2 in between the sun and the planet, 1 ahead of it in its orbit, 1 behind it in its orbit, and 1 about 1,000,000 to 1.5 million miles further out. And all the planets have them. And what they are these gravity pockets that if anything gets caught in said gravity pocket, the Earth will just pull it along with it. And now you don't have to have thrusters anymore. You don't have to have any sort of, you know, you can explain why your thing is out there without any battery, you know. Well, how do you fuel it? Oh, don't worry, it doesn't need to be flying. It's caught in. We can't make shit that goes 62,000 miles per hour. Come on, that's ridiculous. So this thing is caught in the Earth's gravity pocket. So you think like, okay, so think about them getting it into the gravity pocket, right? They would have to, like, as the Earth is going this way, they would like have to shoot it back this way, so that as the Earth came back around, they could hit the gravity pocket 1,000,000 to 1.5 million miles away. Now, that's got to be a pretty like precise shot, you know. You got to get that, and it's not like there's markers or anything, but somehow they know exactly where it is, and they hit it with the James Webb Space Telescope. But think about the James Webb Space Telescope is traveling at whatever speed it is. It's not 62,000 miles per hour. It's nothing close to it. When suddenly it's caught in this basically invisible net, this gravity net, and it's now going from whatever speed it was going to 62,000 miles per hour. You think maybe that might have jostled it a little bit? What? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, have you heard of NAS?
Think about that. Think about how insane. If you know what whiplash is, if you're going 35 and somebody smashes into you going 45 from the back, you're going to get whiplash. And you're moving. We don't have anything that comes close to 62,000 miles per hour. So this thing is going, and then suddenly it goes, some grabs it and yanks it 62,000. Do you know how and the thing is, it's 1,000,000 to 1.5 million miles away. So even if the slightest thing breaks, oh well. Unlike the Hubble, though, nothing broke. Just think about how ridiculous that is. So, if you can wrap your head around how ridiculous that is, and you understand that this is an official, the system, the government, the governing bodies, the everything of the world is telling us that there is the James Webb Space Telescope. These are the pretty pictures it takes, and it lives out in the Lagrange point.
But it doesn't take pictures.
It doesn't take pictures, no.
These are the pictures it takes, but it doesn't take them.
No, it takes infrared images that it then it collects and then transmits the million. No, it transmits them the 1,000,000 to 1.5 million miles back to Earth, where those computers
they do the translation.
either no. Well, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Somebody
I don't.
translates them. That's what
Well, I don't know if it's the artist that translates. Like, I don't know if the artist can read the beep bop boop bop and then make that into the pretty picture that we see, or the computer translates that into, okay, this part's blue and this part's green. They leave it like a color by numbers sheet or something, and then the artist fills it in. I'm not really sure how that works, but it doesn't take pictures. Damn pigeons. 62,000 miles per hour. Do you understand? You can't even, like, fathom. You can't even understand how fast that is. That would just melt your face right the fuck off your skeleton and shit. You would be going, it's so fast, it would just crush everything. But hey, no, it's cool. The James Webb's got it. Taking its pictures. So if you do understand that is like bullshit on top of horse shit with some fucking more bullshit and some that's cow shit and all sorts of shit stacked on top of itself, then you have to say, okay, so that same system tells me that submarines exist. That same system tells me that gravity exists. That's which thing do you say? Okay, when do you say they're not lying? Why would they lie about this?
I mean, like I said, there's truth to all the lies. So.
No, there's not. There's not truth to all the lies. There's lies. They're fucking lying about all kinds of shit. There's literally no truth to Israel as a victim in any way, shape, or form. None. Not a like hint of truth. Just like there's not even a shred of fucking any sort of truth that those are God's chosen people and I should give a shit. Don't you get it? It's fucking insane. So the sun and the moon are traveling around us as well. We stay still. You're not allowing yourself to think. You're thinking that the earth is still in this space and that there's these giant rocks and shit flying around. Understand, all you know is that there's a light up there. That's it. There's an image up there. You have no idea what the fuck those images are. You know what the lion-ass system tells you. Or you believe in the James Webb Space Telescope. I just don't even know what to say, man. If I give you the narrative that they give us about the James Webb, and if I'm wrong about any of it, by all means, add to it. Like, tell me what I'm getting wrong. But let's just say we don't even have to go with whatever they're talking about. You got to let them back in a minute. It's too cold. Let's just say you're on something that's moving and you have to shoot something that's moving at the same speed, but it's forever away. To make that shot in itself, when you don't have anything that can go as fast as you're moving, it's like you're moving in a car that's going 100 miles per hour and you try to throw a rock at another thing that's going 100 miles per hour.
It doesn't work that way.
How could you ever even do it?
You couldn't. It doesn't work that way.
The only way you could do it is if you threw it behind you and then it stayed up in the air long enough for you to go around the track and then came back down and hit that. But you couldn't launch anything from any point. If you're going, see, there's not even a way to do this accurately.
No, there's not really a.
What? How can you compare that? How could you launch? We're going. We're the. This is what they tell you. This is what you believe. I don't believe this. You believe this. And you believe this. You do, because you believe in star charts and all that other shit. Planets and all that other bullshit. But we're traveling on something going 62,000 miles per hour. Our best rockets, I mean, our rockets don't go that fast. Can you look up how fast rockets travel? I don't think it's much more than 1,000 miles per hour at the most. Maybe like 1,600. But that requires like all of the fuel, right? And I know that James Webb, they use space sails. It was not only is it a telescope, it's also a spaceship that
Speeds of up to 26,400 miles per hour.
What?
Rockets.
Rockets go 26,400 miles per hour. Well, damn me, I was wrong about that. But doesn't really matter because we're still trying to go 62,000. We're still fighting against 62,000 miles per hour. It just doesn't, you can't, there's no way you could shoot it from any direction other than behind you and then hope when it came back around, it hit that spot. But that's not what we're told. We're never shown that, or we're never told this idea that when something leaves the Earth's atmosphere, the 62,000 mile per hour Earth then leaves view or trap. You've never seen anything like that. You've only seen shit that's like sitting still, perfectly still, taking pictures, flying up in the middle of nowhere, taking pictures. Well, at least we know that when they say that the space station is falling at 17,000 miles per hour, well, at least we know they could get going that fast, huh? Orbit Earth, the rocket needs to reach a speed of about 17,000 miles per hour. This is about once around the Earth every 90 minutes. But they're not using rockets. They're falling into the Earth's gravity. To escape the Earth's gravity and travel to another planet or moon, miles per hour. This is also known as escape velocity. The Earth goes 62,000 miles per hour. The speed required for a rocket, depending on its flight path, for example, a rocket traveling to lunar orbit needs to reach speeds. What?
Give me the phone. Go downstairs. I gotta pee, and whoever poop, go downstairs. Take care of the.
Is it on the floor?
I don't think so, but the whole downstairs stinks now. Bleh.
So Nick, you know what to do? Who did?
I did not. I have not been down there. Living with boys is so gross. You boys are fucking nasty. Nasty. Oh, orientation. Oh, there we go. There's my haunted ceiling, folks. I think he has my phone. Still. I don't know what the hell happened to it. Oh my goodness. Oy, oy, oy. That was pretty awful. Oh. I don't remember what we were talking about. I see. Wife, are you reading? Get a book for him and a piece of paper. I want to show him a gravity experiment. I mean, there's all kinds of experiments you could do, blah, blah, blah. The explanations for those experiments are still narratives that have been given to us. You know, most of what we know is learned from word of mouth. You could say from books or whatever, but that originally came from somebody's mouth, right? I don't know. Just try it out, and then you can draw your own conclusion. Well, see, the thing is that I was a student of the sciences, so I've done a lot of those experiments, and I'm not 100% sure how I feel about all of it. I can't say that I agree with him on that particular subject 100% or disagree. Huh? I don't know those kids. I have to pee. Is the toilet all sorted?
No, it's real bad still.
It's stuck.
Oh, it's so bad. It's everywhere. Shit stuff's all over. We're just gonna leave it though, because that's how we are. Alright, today with the travel at such a high velocity because their high exhaust velocity is between 5,600 and 10,100 miles per hour. That's stupid. But like this is like, so they'll give you these kinds of terms, exit velocity and all this other shit, and you think it's all like it makes sense. But it doesn't. It still doesn't make sense. It's still stupid. And the thought of, you know, the James Webb and the space sail and all that shit. The problem being that at the end of the day, we just have to trust what they say or don't. Trust that the same people that tell us Israel is the good guy and that we shouldn't hate things. I can't stand all these commercials. I can't stand commercials when they compare what Jays have experienced to what black people experience. It's so frustrating and insulting. But unless we, you know, the only way we ever answer those questions, the only way we know the answer to all of these questions is unifying and overthrowing them. They are the problem. They control all this narrative. They put out all this bullshit. It's all it is. It's just there to make you think certain ways. But it's stupid. It's just stupid. I mean, when you think about the fact that with the thousands and thousands and thousands of satellites that have been launched supposedly launched into the sky, that only one of them in 1983, I believe, was destroyed by a meteorite. That none of them crash into each other, that none of them are hit by space debris, you know, little screws and bolts traveling at, I mean, if the space station is traveling at 17,000 something miles per hour, falling into the earth, and it hits anything, it hits something, especially if that something happens to be traveling in the opposite direction. And if that other thing is traveling just as fast at the opposite direction, even if it's not traveling as fast or whatever, the amount of kinetic energy built up, the size of the explosion would be easily seen from Earth. And that shit would be happening all the fucking time. We would see and hear it all the time. These huge explosions from these things crashing into each other all the time. Never happens. It's all bullshit. It's all fantasy bullshit to completely distract us. It really is. That's what it comes down to. That's what all of it comes down to. Especially when you look at who controls those narratives. The flat out truth is that in Hebrew, NASA means to deceive, to deceive. And I'm sure lots of words mean lots of things in lots of languages. But when you look at how prominent the J's are in our narrative and in the control scheme, to think that that they would do that is just like a joke. I mean, I don't know. No, it's the National Air and Space Association or whatever. Yeah, that's what it means. That's it had to be that. It's terrible, man. And I really couldn't care less. Like the shape of the earth, I mean, it matters. It matters in how we're being lied to. It matters in the money that's stolen from us. It matters in the perception that's given and all that. But really, at the end of the day, again, it falls into that same category where we just can't know the truth. They won't let us. They let us know their truth, what they want us to know. And I think the most important, I'm trying to think, like, really, that's probably the most important film you can watch. When I actually step back and I think about it, it's not A Rich Man's Trick, which is A Rich Man's Trick. They flat out tell you in the beginning that everything that you've ever seen, whether it's the Zapruder film or any videos, any truther videos, loose change, all that shit, that those are always CIA videos, meaning that video is a CIA video as well, no doubt. But when it comes to all of these other things, Hollywoodism predates, well, at least the information in that narrative predates all of those other narratives. And I really think Hollywoodism is a great place to start, I guess. I don't know, because it's one of those places where, one of those things where I would imagine that you could get lost in it and just sort of allow it to, like, if you're not going into it skeptically, you could easily get lost in it. And it'd just be another movie you watch. And because I think a lot of it is so seemingly far-fetched that it won't sink in what you're watching. But, as far as credibility goes and all that, well, there's not going to be another, like, this is a movie that's unintentional. This is unintentional truther. And it's a read between the lines truther movie, but not even, it's like it's not read between the lines, but it is. Like, you don't have to, like, figure, they're telling you everything. You just have to understand exactly what they're telling you. It's not just this, they're telling you the truth. And I regarding moon landings and just every narrative we're given, Hollywoodism actually covers it. Because they literally brag about creating the world we live in. The world we lived in was completely different before these six J's, all born within 500 miles of each other, all happened to immigrate here and then live within 15 miles of each other and control Hollywood and just, I mean, and thinking that they controlled Hollywood and then what, gave it up? No. They never gave it up, and they're still at the top of all those totem poles. But it you know, the whole production codes of the 30s and just all of it falls under the same blanket. And I really do think, like, if you really want to start somewhere, it's so important that, because it's so important that this isn't a conspiracy theory movie. That this isn't something that somebody can just go, oh, that's just Alex Jones. No, don't do that. Don't go down that road. I mean, you should, because Alex Jones movies have good stuff in them sometimes. But it just makes you wonder how much of it is legit. But Hollywoodism is really telling. And I think that's where you guys should really start. So I'm going to leave that link in the description. I'm going to also leave a link to the free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's free. Seriously, go watch Hollywoodism. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. If you want evidence, I'm trying to provide you with evidence. I already watched it live with you guys over a 3-day period. It took a while to get through. But go watch it and tell me what you think. Tell me if you still don't. Like, it's funny because if I make that movie, that's anti-Semitism, then I'm very proud of my anti-Semitism, by the way. But that's bad, and I shouldn't say those things. How dare you say those things about Jay's controlling Hollywood and blah, 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 all that shit. But if they say it, I guess it's okay. I mean, that's what's so important about this movie, is they literally lay out the conspiracy for you. And if they're telling you that they do, who can deny it? Who can call it anything other than that's what they want us to know? They don't hide it. And why are they allowed to say it, but I'm not? Why am I a bad guy for saying it? Free download. Go watch the movie. That's your homework. Have a good night. And you pedophiles, kill yourself.